guys, welcome back to my weekly vlog. I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. A lot of you do know that already that I'm a writer. I might have mentioned that once or twice. But what I haven't talked about as much is that I am also a virtual assistant. Today I'm meeting up with one of my favourite clients, Barefoot Backpacker. We're going to film all sorts of stuff for their channel that they're about to launch and do some content planning going forward for the rest of the year, because I help out on their blog and their podcast and all that sort of thing. The best part about the Barefoot Backpacker being one of my clients is that they're also one of my dearest friends, and so we're going to have all sorts of fun together today. And one of the things that they've agreed to do is film a little piece for this vlog, because one or two of you in the comments and over on Twitter have said to me, "Where's your accent from?" And I can tell you've got a British accent, but I can't place where it's from. The Barefoot Backpacker has, shall we say, views about my accent, and they're also from up north. I'm a southerner, and so I thought it might be interesting for some of you to hear a difference in our accents and how we pronounce different words and how we use different words. So I'm going to go to the train station now to go meet them. We're going to grab a coffee and stuff. Well, I'll have a coffee, they'll have a hot chocolate, and then I'll come back and introduce you to them. So see you then. Like I said, I was meeting up with the Barefoot Backpacker, one of my favourite clients, and here they are. And yes, they are barefoot. It's more socially acceptable in the house than it was walking here from the station. So, how you doing?
I'm alright. How are you?
I am pretty good. And one of the reasons that I was getting you to do a video with me today is because I had a couple of comments on my YouTube talking about my accent. A couple of people said, "Have you got a British accent?" Yes, but there are how many British accents? We have different accents based on the region that we live in and our social class and all these different aspects. But Barefoot Backpacker here has a particular opinion about my accent. Don't you?
All I'm saying about your accent is that it sounds like you're from about 5 different places at once and you switch between them seamlessly. Also, you have a very similar voice to someone I work with.
Oh, do I?
Yes. Oh. But I can't remember where she lives.
Oh. But yeah, apparently a lot of the places that my accent comes from are places that I've never actually been to.
Yeah, sometimes you sound like you come from Romford.
Romford. I don't think I've ever been to... I have been to Essex. Romford is in Essex, isn't it?
I mean, technically it's in the London Borough of Havering, but yes.
Okay. Technically, actually, it's in Havering.
It used to be in Essex.
But yeah, I've been to Essex for 5 days and stayed in a caravan and didn't see any of Essex.
Which, to be fair, is more than I've been to Essex.
Yeah, but I don't think you have a particularly Essex accent.
That's because I've never...
But I can have a really Essex accent, apparently.
You're Southern, or all accents sound the same to me anyway.
Well, see, you said it, but I don't think you sound like a Northerner.
I can sound like a Northerner sometimes, you know.
So that is the closest that you've sounded to Scouse to me.
Yeah, okay, so I grew up in Liverpool. But what was evident is that although I went to a primary school that was in inner city Liverpool, my secondary school was, shall we say, a bit posh. And my first year at secondary school, we did a little play in the class, a theatre production for the rest of the year. And one of the characters was a Scouser, and I didn't get the part.
Oh my god!
Because I didn't have a strong Scouse accent.
For Americans and other people that are not British, Scouse means that you're from Liverpool. So you can have a Scouse accent, and that means that you sound like you're from Liverpool, or you can be Scouse, and that means you're from Liverpool.
Yes, and it's Scouse because it's named after the standard foodstuff that we make there, which is very similar to goulash, actually. It's basically get a pot, shove a load of things in the pot, boil it.
See, I did not know that that was the etymology of Scouse, so today I learned.
Lobscouse is the full name of the foodstuff.
Is it nicer than it sounds? Or?
It is exactly as it sounds. You wouldn't like it, it's got meat in it.
No. I can still occasionally think that meat smells nice. Yeah.
I mean, you could use corn mince.
I tell you what though, the one meat that really smells horrible to me is chicken. That's really bizarre, but I'm just like, oh, it smells like dead bird, because that's what it is.
Chicken doesn't really smell of anything.
I used to think that when I ate chicken too, but it does.
Taste as much either.
It does. Okay, you're not seasoning things.
Oh no, believe me, when I cook chicken with a lot of spice, because I cook everything with a lot of spice, because spice is fabulous.
That's terribly anti-British of you. You're probably going to get arrested now.
We conquered the world to trade in spices.
Yes, but we don't use them. They sit in the cupboard. I mean, I use them as well. We've got an entire spice cupboard. We like spice.
We like spice.
Yeah. So anyway, accents,
yes,
wandering.
Yes, so think of Paul McCartney. So Paul McCartney has a Liverpool accent.
I think I sound like Paul McCartney.
No, I'm not saying you.
You.
No, not me either. What I'm saying is think of Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney has a Liverpool accent, but it's quite a posh Liverpool accent. So you can tell when he speaks he's from Liverpool, but it doesn't sound as interesting as someone from, Garston or something.
I'm trying to think of like a famous or well-known person that does have a really broad Scouse accent, and I can't think of any off the top of my head.
One of the issues with the Liverpool accent is that it's seen as quite a friendly accent and seen as quite a sort of jovial accent. And there's a lot of comedians back when I was younger that were, what's his name?
John Bishop.
Yes, him. John Bishop has it.
He's in Doctor Who.
Yes.
That's who we're talking
Yeah. He's got a strong Liverpool accent because he's definitely from
that's
Liverpool.
proper Scouse, isn't it?
Very much so. So I used to work for an energy company, and I used to work not with the customer service department, and they used to, look at customer service news, and they would occasionally have surveys on, the best accents for customer call centres. The Liverpool accent was quite low. Nobody puts a call centre in Liverpool because of the accent.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought because it's quite a friendly sort of accent.
It's friendly.
Would be quite into that.
It's friendly, but it's not. I'm going to use this word incorrectly. It's not seen as trustworthy, and I don't mean we don't think Scousers are trustworthy. It's not that. What I mean is it doesn't have the gravitas.
Yeah. It's funny though, isn't it? Because we've got a massive range of like really specific regional accents, but on TV we rarely see them.
Yes.
On radio we rarely hear them outside of local radio.
Yes.
It's very much like
There's reasons for that.
What do you call
received pronunciation?
That's the word.
Or BBC English.
Yeah. So BBC English is pretty much
clues in the title.
Yeah, and so maybe that is what people think of when they think of a British accent, and they say to you, "Have you got a British accent?" I've actually got an English accent.
I went to the USA and everyone said I sounded like Hugh Grant. I do not sound like Hugh Grant.
I mean, maybe they're just trying to be nice.
Oh, gee, is that cute Englishman with that cute accent and that cute ass?
Did you get a lot of that?
Yes.
I can't imagine being like, "Oh, love me Birmingham accent."
There's a sentence that's probably never been said before on video. And will probably never be said again.
Yeah, I've been told that I've got a bit of a Birmingham accent.
You do not have a Birmingham
but
accent.
I've never heard that in me. I think that's quite a sort of nasal and monotone.
Yeah, I mean, Birmingham accent is quite nasal.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. But there is like a little group of West Midlands accents that are quite nasal.
And Black Country is more rounded.
Yeah, see, I prefer Black Country.
Yeah, I prefer Black Country.
Yeah.
I used to date someone who was solidly Black Country, like the purest Black Country accent from a place called Blackheath, Rowley Regis. And, oh my God, it took some getting used to, that accent, because it is very yam-yam.
Yeah, yeah.
The people from Birmingham call the people from Dudley yam-yams, because one of the dialectal parts of the Black Country accent, Dudley, one of the aspects of the dialectal part of the Dudley accent is the verb to be is regular. So instead of going I am, you are, he is, we go I am, you am, he am, we am, you am, they am.
Am you cold?
Am you cold? Am you going shop?
That is an odd one because we do use words very, very differently across the UK as well.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get into the swears because
but there's that whole meme about how to start an argument in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Have a picture of a bread roll and say, what is this called?
Or an alleyway. That's
alleyway,
quite a keen one as well. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you call an alleyway up north?
When in Liverpool we called it an enog.
Okay, that's weird.
Well, no, because it's short for entryway.
Oh, okay.
So it just became enog.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we get quite a lot of words like that, don't they? Just like lazy pronunciation, basically, and it becomes a word.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's probably a bit easier for you because Barefoot Backpacker, clues in the name, backpacks all around the world, yeah? And so it might be a bit easier for you, but you recently moved from England to Glasgow in Scotland.
Yes.
Do you struggle with understanding the accent at all? Because Ouija's have got quite broad Scots accents, haven't they? I mean, not as much as the Highland accents. But
when I was younger, I did have trouble with some of the accents, but I think I used to date someone from Glasgow.
For an Arrow Ace person, you have got a lot of "I used to date someone" from.
Yeah, the clues in the phrase "used to." Being Arrow Ace means that, relationships are generally not a good idea. Or at least not those sorts of relationships with Allo people. Because Allo people are strange. No offence.
None taken. I'm happy to be strange.
Yes.
But yeah, so you didn't struggle as much when you moved there?
No, because I think I was more used to it. But it is quite a strong accent. And I remember years and years ago, one of my friends is French. And she was visiting her pen pal in Newcastle upon Tyne.
See, that's an accent.
This is the point. So they had trouble understanding each other because the accents were quite strong. But when they were up there, she came back and told me afterwards that they were watching TV and there was this interview with someone from Glasgow. And she said to her friend, "I don't understand what he's saying." And her friend said, "Nor do I."
When I worked in a call centre and was ringing all around the UK, it was always the Scottish accents that I struggled the most with. Mostly, like I say, Highlands accents I find really quite thick.
Yes.
But Glasgow, for some reason, is a lot more difficult for me to understand than Edinburgh accents.
Yeah, Edinburgh's a posh Glasgow accent. Glasgow is a more...
Which to Americans would seem quite strange, because if you were to look on a map, you'd go, well, it's only that far. But it's the other side of the country.
It is the other side of the country.
For us. And so, yeah.
35 miles.
Is it only 35 miles?
I think so. It's either 35 or 45. By the way, it takes
so that's even closer than I thought, but there is just quite a massive sort of difference in the two accents and that.
Yes. When I was growing up, my grandmother said that she knew people that could identify which part of Liverpool you were from just from the accent.
Gosh.
And I didn't realise how strong my mother's Liverpool accent was until after I'd long moved away. So when I've been speaking to her on the phone, it comes out more. Yes. And I do know people with accents, strong accents. I know quite a few people that don't have an accent. Your accent.
My accent wanders about.
Does mine?
Well, sometimes it depends. When we're talking about it, like sometimes I hear a little bit of Liverpool in there. And so, like when you say Barnsley. Barnsley.
Right. There are certain towns that you can't pronounce without going into the local accent. Like Dudley. You can't say Dudley without sounding like you're from Dudley.
In fact, the guy that came to replace my windows was from Dudley. And when I asked him this, he was like, "Yeah, you too." Oh,
no. Barnsley in South Yorkshire. You can't really say Barnsley without sounding like you're from Barnsley. I mean, you could say Barnsley, but Barnsley just sounds wrong.
And Wales. Wales is hard to say without a little bit of a Welsh accent.
There's a town called Wales near Sheffield.
Is it spelled the same as Wales, the country?
Yep.
Oh, that's not confusing at all. Yeah, what else was I going to say about accents? Oh, yeah, because I think that a lot of people that are outside of the UK would struggle to realise that "how now, brown cow" is the exact...
Never heard no one say that in my entire life.
"How now, brown cow" is the exact same sentence as "how now, brown cow."
Indeed.
And it could even be people living on the same street.
Yeah.
Like they're speaking that differently from each other, because it's not just geographical, we've got a lot of class differences in our accents as well, haven't we?
We have. And you were talking earlier about BBC English, and one of the reasons why you don't hear, or certainly when I was growing up, you didn't really hear regional accents anywhere, was because they wanted to maintain that class concept.
Yeah.
So if you worked for the BBC, you had to have a particular accent to maintain the
gravitas.
The gravitas of the BBC.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but it's still...
Yeah, you still only really hear very local accents on like the local news and the local radio. You wouldn't really see them on like the main national news, would you?
I mean, what you will find is that people change their accents.
Yeah.
They will do like voice training, or they'll just try and consciously speak slightly clearer.
I mean, a certain amount of that, it just happens anyway, tonal switching. Well, I speak very differently to you than how I would speak to my nan, to how I would speak to my kids.
You also hear it in pop stars. There are very few people that sing in their natural accent.
Yeah, and that Adele, you don't expect that voice to come out of her speaking voice after you've heard her sing. Well, I wonder why we don't sing in local accents.
I think there's a number of reasons. I think one is that we all just want to sound like we're Americans.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, you do kind of just naturally fall into an American accent. But I don't know if that's because a lot of the songs that we sing and listen to are American. And so we're just trying to sound like the singer.
Yes, possibly. Or at least sound like we're trying to be that singer, even if the song is something that we've written. I
suppose rhyming as well, though, like different words rhyme in different accents.
Yes.
Like you say bath very differently.
Bath.
Yeah.
Bath. There's no R in it. Bath.
Glass.
Glass.
I can't think of any more, but there are loads that we do like that.
The other problem is, because I have occasionally written poetry, so I've got a rhyming dictionary. So I'll read that rhyming dictionary and go, that's not how you pronounce that word.
Oh yeah, tell me your thing about singer. You said you've got a thing about the word singer.
I don't know if it's the word singer, but apparently I have one of the few accents in the world where singer, finger and ringer all rhyme.
Singer, finger, ringer. Yeah, ringer doesn't rhyme with finger.
Does, clearly does. It clearly does.
It really doesn't, though, does it? Finger.
Singer. Ringer.
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 Ringer. Gee.
Okay, we're probably going to just have a fight about how to say these words at some point.
What I will say about accents, I mean, we're talking about how many accents there are in Britain. Certainly I've got a lot of friends from other countries and they just don't have as many accents. My good friend in the USA was trying to describe the accents in the USA, and she basically said that pretty much everyone from like Minnesota down to Nevada pretty much has the same accent, the sort of that kind of Midwest accent. Then you've got New Jersey, which is a thing on its own, and New York, and then you've got the South, which has an accent. And trying to say that in a place, because the UK is about the same size as Minnesota, so trying to say that, in a country the size of Minnesota, we have far more accents than your entire empire. It's like, it's really weird.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand it in a way, because obviously, certainly in the USA, much of the immigrant population came over at the same time from similar places, so they would have had similar accents, whereas we've kind of developed ours over the course of the last 2,500 years.
Yeah, so I was going to say, you'd only have to drive about 15-20 miles away from me before you'd hear people with completely different accents to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, completely.
Yeah. I mean, how far are you from Birmingham?
2 hours drive.
Not that far.
Yeah, it's not that far. Well, for an American, it's not that far. For me, it's far. I wouldn't want to drive 2 hours.
By train.
Yeah. But yeah, about 2 hours drive away. They sound completely different and pronounce most of the words completely different.
Yes.
And we could go into a whole different thing about swearing in various regions and how certain words are very acceptable in some places and really not very acceptable at all in others. But,
yeah, I live in Glasgow, and there's a particular word that's particularly popular in Glasgow that isn't popular anywhere else. Except Liverpool, actually, surprisingly.
And Australia.
And Australia, yes.
Yeah, you're allowed to say it in Australia. You're allowed to say... Like, if somebody says the C word to you in Scotland, you are friends with that person. Well done. If they call you pal, you're in trouble. Very much so.
Right, pal, do you want to come outside? Has two very different meanings depending on whether you're in Glasgow or,
or
Bedford.
London. Yeah. Whereas in London, you drop the C word, people are maybe not going to be as shocked as they would be in America, but a lot more shocked than in places like Glasgow, where it's basically punctuation. So, that was my little thing all about British accents.
She has a weird accent.
I have a weird accent. It's better travelled than I am.
I have an accent. Oh yeah, my accent, people have said, well, you're a northerner. That's about all we can tell.
Yeah, except that you don't sound proper northern.
Posh northerner.
Yeah. I suppose that's why I struggle with your accent, actually, is because you don't really normally associate posh with northerner, do you? Even though there are posh northerners. But it's like what you were saying about, you're very posh, don't worry. It's like what you were saying about Liverpool accents, yeah? People see them as friendly but not necessarily trustworthy, and that's possibly partly because of how they've been portrayed.
Yes.
And so your stereotype of a northerner wouldn't really marry up with your stereotype of a posh person.
Who wants to live in Kirkby and Ashfield? Why would you live in Kirkby and Ashfield?
Well, everywhere is interesting, so I'm told.
Everywhere is interesting. That doesn't mean that you have to live there.
That's Barefoot Backpacker's slogan, by the way. We're going to do some more about that a bit later, but not for this channel. But so you'll have to go onto Barefoot Backpacker's channel and have a look to see our chats about places that you think are boring that are actually interesting, and stuff that you shouldn't say to an asexual person. And
a lot of other stuff that we...
all sorts of other bits and bobs.
There's probably, at some point, there'll be some video of me, walking.
And by the time I actually make this into a video and post it, hopefully there will actually be some stuff on your channel, because it's not launched yet, but it will be soon.
I've got a couple of poems on there.
Yeah, you've got a couple of poems and you crying in a tent.
Oh yes, yes, there's me crying in a tent in the Peak District because everything had gone horribly wrong.
Yeah. Always put up your tent before you set off, so you know how to do it in the dark and the wind and the rain.
Yep.
And so that's probably a good way for you to listen to how people from the north swear, especially if they're posh.
Apparently I have quite a nice voice.
Mm-hmm.
Soporific.
Plug.
People, I have a podcast and people have said, I really like your podcast, it helps me sleep. There's two ways you can take that statement.
Take it the nice way. What's your podcast called?
My podcast?
Tell my friends.
I'm not very good at plugging myself. My podcast is called Travel Tales from Beyond the Brochure, and occasionally I update it.
Yeah. And it's everywhere that you can find podcasts.
Yes.
And you even get a bit of me on there occasionally as well, because we do Twitter Spaces together. And I'm only really asking questions and interrupting and being annoying.
Yes.
I talk about quite a lot of interesting places.
Yes, I talk about interesting
UK
places.
and elsewhere.
The UK and abroad, and also aspects of travelling. Sort of travelling solo or travelling with hand luggage, or...
We talked about personal safety in travel and health and all
Yep.
that sort of thing.
Yep.
We're probably going to be talking about sports in travel soon.
At some point,
At some point, if we ever get round to that one. We're both quite bad. On that note, we should probably go and do some actual work instead of fanning about talking about accents.
We are doing actual work. We're talking about accents, or at least we were half talking about accents, and then we've been distracted a lot.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll edit it. It's fine. So I've just got back from dropping my friend the Barefoot Backpacker off back at the train station. I hope that you enjoyed our talk about accents. It's going to need a lot of editing down because we did go on for about 45 minutes, and I know you're not going to sit and listen to us for that long. If you have any more questions, or if you want to tell us a bit more about Welsh accents, because neither of us know a great deal about regional variations in Welsh accents, then drop us a comment, let us know. I would love to hear from you. I will be back tomorrow in the shorts for my daily vlog. And I will be back here next Monday to talk to you all about, I don't know, maybe free self-care if I haven't done that one already. Until then, you have yourself a magical week.